Welcome, 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 ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between. Jackie's got a sports show, and you are tuning in to that very sports show. Got some NBA stories to get into, got some Monday Night Football to get into, some injuries, and some controversial calls from this past weekend in college football. Hope you're ready. Gonna do house cleaning at the end. But how are you? Let's stop going so fast. Let's step on the brake pedal a little bit. How are you? How was your day yesterday? How's your day going today? Job treating you well? No? Damn, man. You should look for a better job. Oh, it pays too well. I hear you. Oh, it's going great? Awesome. Awesome, man. Live life to the fullest, my brother. I was going to open with some other thing, like, yesterday I opened with talking about those documentaries. I was going to do that, but being that I just woke up, my memory is not that great right now. So we're just going to hop right in. Before we hop in, though, you might hear the dog bark because she's insane. Before we hop in, though, make sure you like, share, rate, all that good stuff, my brother. All that good stuff, my sister. All that good stuff, my non-binary partner. Like, rate, and share. Someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, I'm looking for a new sports show to get into. Maybe a little smaller content creator. Or I'm looking for a sports show to get into." You just say, "Hey, Jackie's got a sports show. Make sure you tune into that sports show." Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Get her done. I hear my wife shouting at the other dog. That scares me a little bit. So let's get right into Monday Night Football. Chargers beat the Jets 27-6. And this game is not a masterclass by the Chargers as the score may look. The Chargers got great field position because of their defense that resulted in a touchdown one time. One time. They had one good drive, and then the rest was their defense putting them in good positions and their special teams making plays. This was not some amazing performance by the Chargers offense. Defense did great, but you're going up against the Jets, so I don't know how much I can put into that. And the special teams made some plays, which, good for you. But the offense was bad. That's the only way you can put it. The offense was pretty bad. I believe the Jets outgained the Chargers offense in almost every facet of the game. They just couldn't put points on the board, and the Chargers got good field position. That's why they kept scoring. And I think we all knew that the Jets were a much worse team than 4-3. But this weekend really showed how fraudulent the AFC East is. It is a fraudulent division. Everybody was coming in saying it was going to be one of the best. I wasn't convinced outside of the Jets because the Jets had Aaron Rodgers, great defense. I knew the Jets were going to be really good, and then Aaron Rodgers got hurt, and now the Jets aren't that good. She's chewing on something, and it's aggravating. It's really aggravating, and I want to turn around and I want to kick her because I know whatever she's chewing on, she's not supposed to have. She's not supposed to have. So I really need to probably get up and rip her off of that. I'm saying it so violently. I don't abuse my dogs, I promise. But everybody was saying that, but the Bills are proving that they are overrated yet again. The Dolphins do not have a defense and just beat up on the little guys. And when they play the big teams like the Bills, like the Chiefs, they just fold. You say, like, Jack, that goes against what you just said. The Bills are a good football team in the regular season. When it comes to the playoffs, I don't trust them. And they just show signs of why I should not trust them inside the regular season. The AFC was hyped up. The AFC East was hyped up to be such a world beating division, and it's just not. It never was. on next year with AFC East. A lot of people, like I said yesterday, really want the Dolphins in the Super Bowl because they think that'd be really fun. No, no, because this offense against a good defense just folds. It just folds. I don't know what happens. This offense against like below average and bad defenses looks like the next best thing since sliced bread. And then it plays a good defense like the Bills, like the Chiefs, and it just folds. It crumbles. It's a weird thing to behold. Let's stay in football for a little bit. I want to talk about the NFL injuries. 3 ones that really caught my eye as season changing kind of things, or at least decent storylines coming out of them. So the first one is Joshua Palmer for the Los Angeles Chargers has been placed on IR, which means him and Mike Williams have both gone down with significant injuries, which puts Quentin Johnston, the receiver they drafted out of TCU, he has now gone from wide receiver 4, battling for the wide receiver 3 spot, to now wide receiver 2. A lot of people have this narrative that Quentin Johnston is already a bust. I got my boy Colton Edwards made a video about it saying he's already a bust. Look at his numbers. He's a bust. Now, he also did show film. I don't want to put that kind of label on my boy Colton. He's a great dude. Because the first video he made, let me take you through this. The first video I saw he made was just comparing Zay Flowers and Quentin Johnston's numbers and saying, oh yeah, look, I said Zay Flowers would be better, and look at the numbers. He's obviously better. It's like, yeah, because Zay Flowers came in and he was the number 1 receiver right away. Quentin Johnston came in and was wide receiver 3 because Keenan Allen is a borderline all-pro. Mike Williams is a former Pro Bowler, for whatever that's worth. And Joshua Palmer is a really good wide receiver 3. Quentin Johnston had a significantly harder battle getting touches than Zay Flowers. And then he showed film of Quentin Johnston not playing that great. And yeah, Quentin Johnston has not played that great. He's not a great route runner. Doesn't have a great catch radius. Like, he's not amazing. So I'm gonna be keeping up with the Chargers and Quentin Johnston in the next coming weeks. Quentin Johnston is now wide receiver 2 right there because they need him to be, and I really want to see what he can do. I really, really want to see what he can do. And if he can't do anything, everybody was saying the Titans should draft him. Thank God we didn't. Daniel Jones came back in against the Raiders this past weekend and tore his ACL. He was coming off of injury and he went back in there and he got injured again. And just this injury is just what the Giants season is now. Everybody was talking about, and I'm not going to talk about, Daniel Jones' contract and how he didn't deserve it and whatever. I don't like to kick guys while they're down. So I'm not going to talk poorly on Daniel Jones. I'm going to talk about the narrative surrounding Daniel Jones. Because every podcast I listened to, every YouTube video I watched, you'd go on Twitter, you go on TikTok, and you'd see people talking about how Daniel Jones had this phenomenal breakout season last season. Look, he's getting better. Please don't start barking. You see her? You see her? She's staring at the door. Probably because she hears my wife walking around. Okay. But, yeah, Daniel Jones apparently had this phenomenal breakout season last season. 15 touchdowns. And I believe double-digit interceptions, couple fumbles. I don't even think he threw for 3,000 yards. He threw for 3,000 yards, definitely. But it was probably like a little bit over 3,000 yards. Everybody was talking as if he had like this phenomenal completion percentage, this phenomenal touchdown to interception ratio, this phenomenal QBR, so many yards, and he runs, and I hated that narrative that Daniel Jones had this breakout season and he was he was a good quarterback. He's not. And I'm gonna try not to get into my thoughts on Daniel Jones because he did tear his ACL. He's out for the season, and I don't like kicking a guy when he's down. All I'm gonna say is, and this is the only thing I'm gonna say, you should have paid Saquon. You should have paid Saquon. Instead, you paid Daniel Jones. Well, Saquon gets hurt all the time. This is the second significant injury Daniel Jones has had this year. And yet people are still going to make you believe that, hey, you can't pay running backs like skill positions because you can't pay running backs like other skill positions because they get hurt too often. Now, the third injury that doesn't really have as much impact as the other two, but just one that caught my eye was Dallas Goedert fractured his forearm, which means he's going to miss some time. Dallas Goedert on my fantasy team finally started building a good fantasy season and is out with a fractured forearm. I would say this takes out Jalen Hurts' safety valve, but he hasn't been really using him as a safety valve this year. Dallas Goedert has just kind of been out there as another receiving threat, but it just caught my eye. Just caught my eye to see the Eagles get a little less healthy. I don't know why I'm hiccuping. I don't know why I'm burping. I don't know why I'm doing all that. And let's talk about the Alabama targeting call. So, Alabama edge rusher, get his name, tackles Jaden Daniels too high, way too high, and his helmet pops Jaden Daniels' face mask. His helmet runs right into. Did I say Daniel Jones? I really hope I didn't. His helmet bops right into Jaden Daniels' face mask, and it's targeting. It's 1000% targeting. If it's not targeting, then Shiloh Sanders' tackle is not targeting, which Shiloh Sanders' tackle was targeting. The issue is you have different crews with different views. I said this a couple weeks ago. I titled one of my podcast episodes this. Different crews, different views really needs to stop. Kurt, Ben Kurt, something like that. That backup quarterback for the Packers who makes content now, he was talking about how, and this is no secret, but it was revealed to a lot of NFL fans that this happens. NFL teams get scouting reports on the referees on which calls that they will call. NFL players get scouting reports. NFL teams get scouting reports on the referee crew that is going to be calling their game because they know that not every referee crew calls the same penalties. Not every referee crew has the same beliefs and the same feelings towards whatever penalties. So these crews are going to let you get away with this. These crews are going to let you get away with this. These crews won't be okay with this. These crews won't be okay with that. And that's wrong. I know it's human nature. We're all going to have different opinions. But when you have penalties that can flip the momentum, when you have penalties that can put teams in a very good position, it should not be the case of that call might be called with one referee crew and not the other. The game should not come down to who's refereeing the game. It just shouldn't. It just shouldn't. In which I think we can all agree on. And the NFL and the NCAA really need to look at this, especially with targeting, because Shiloh Sanders was thrown out for his targeting call, which was a bit of a controversial targeting call. Me personally, I do think it was targeting. He was thrown out the game for it, in which you can make an argument that he led with his shoulder and his helmet just had contact with dude. Again, personally, I thought it was targeting. Personally, I still feel like it was targeting. But then when you have a player go way too high and ram his helmet into Jane Daniels' helmet and it doesn't get called, then how can you convince me, as the NCAA, how can you convince me that Shiloh's ejection was justified? You can't. I understand that inconsistency in referees doesn't change my thought on the rule, doesn't change whether I think it's a good or bad call, but inconsistent referees, in terms of, especially when you're throwing out one guy, is wrong. Is wrong. And I've talked about how to fix refereeing in football. And one of the things you have to do is you have to take this away. This is unacceptable. You have to have some sort of meeting where it's like, hey, we're going to emphasize this. If you don't, you're fired. And it's just going to be that. It's just going to be that. We are going to focus on these calls and we're going to call these calls a certain way. And if you don't, you're fired. Or you're not going to get primetime games, or you're not going to get whatever. Because this inconsistent refereeing is bad. Let's not get it twisted. Refereeing is bad, but I can understand, it happens very fast. The audience at home and the crowd gets to see it in slow motion, in which something obvious might happen that you didn't see. I completely understand that refereeing is not some walk in the park, easy job, hard to mess up. It's very easy to mess up. It's very easy to miss something. The inconsistency between refereeing crews, when you have crews that like, oh, we're not really going to do that. Oh, we're going to call this a lot more because this is how we feel. It's not okay. That Alabama edge rusher should have been ejected. Why? Shiloh Sanders was ejected. And that's just, they were both targeting. They were both targeting. You have to hold that to the same thing. It's the same thing, dude. And it really sucks. It really sucks because I'm a defender of referees just because I've worn the stripes before, not at a high level at youth football. And I realize how hard it is. I realize that, standing on the sideline after you miss something and having the coach scream in your ear for 2 minutes like that. By the way, has that ever worked? Has that ever worked? Have you ever seen a coach get in a referee's face and then the ref go like, oh yeah, no, bro, you're right. You're right. Let's just change the call. I just yanked the fuck out of my headphones. I've never seen that work in my life. In fact, every time it happened to me as a referee, I would just laugh. I would just smile and laugh, which, as you could guess, did not help the situation. Did not help the situation. But I genuinely want to know. Put it in the comments of the TikTok promo clip. Tweet at me at jjester615, or just like start talking to the air that you're looking at right now. Have you ever noticed a point to where the referees called a play a certain way or threw a flag or spotted the ball and then the coach got in their ear and they were like, oh yeah, no, bro. No, you're right. You're right. Let's just change it. That's never happened. And I hate coaches wasting breath thinking it's going to happen. So let's talk some basketball that happened last night. James Harden debuted for the Clippers in a 111-97 loss to the Knicks. Harden goes for 17, 3, and 6. I think this game showed the potential what the Clippers can be. It's 17, 3, and 6. That's just James Harden now. I believe he's been, over the past 3 years, he's been averaging, having a puppy, dude. He's been averaging around like 24 and 10, I believe. So it's not, some like, oh my God, Harden has officially fallen off. It's fine. I believe for a total of 19 minutes, the Clippers head coach, I believe Ty Lue, had Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden on the floor together. Now, it only resulted in 97 points, and I read a stat where in 39 possessions that they were together, they scored 37 points while allowing 47. So it's just one game. It's against the Knicks, who are a good team. You can say what you want about Julius Randle, and I think all the criticisms about Julius Randle are valid. The Knicks are a good team in the East. They're a playoff team in the East. But that stat line, 39 possessions together, only 37 points, and giving up 47, it's a bad stat line. It's a bad stat line. I still don't believe this moves the Clippers anywhere, but I guess we'll see. The other game that sparked my interest that I was able to catch the first half of until it got out of hand. The Pacers beat the Spurs 152 to 111. Now Wemby is starting to get his feet under him. I believe has like a 38, 10, and 11 performance, 2015 performance a couple days ago. My God, we're almost done. But today he wasn't that great. 13 points on 3 of 12, I believe, had 10 rebounds, couple assists, maybe like a pair of assists. He wasn't that great, but it was against the Pacers team, a young Pacers team that plays very, very well together. And one of the most deadly things in team sports is chemistry. That's why the Nuggets are so good. The Nuggets play extremely well together, extremely great complementary basketball. And it seems like the Pacers do too. The Pacers passing is so fluid. They don't have any like real superstars. Tyrese Halliburton is on the way. Miles Turner is a good piece. Like they have guys, but they don't have like a certified superstar yet. Like I said, Tyrese Halliburton is on the way. The kid's phenomenal. But they just play extremely, extremely well team basketball. I believe 38 assists, two guys tied for 8 assists for the lead, and a couple had 4 and 5 and 3, and several people. There was only one player who didn't have an assist on the Pacers last night. One player. And there was like 2 or 3 that didn't have multiple, but they had at least one. The Pacers are a good young team that play very, very well together. And one thing that really struck me in the first half, because that's all I watched, because like I said, it got real out of hand. 152 to 111. I'm not watching that game. But the amount of offensive boards and the amount of tip-ins, the amount of alley-oops, it's just team basketball, dude. I love watching it. And the Pacers were so, so fun to watch. And in terms of the Spurs, they're not going to be a great team this year. They don't have the talent to do anything. It's really all about Wemby. How good is he playing? And it looks like he's getting his feet under him. He's still going to have a couple bad games just because he still plays a little awkward. He still plays a little shy sometimes. But Wemby's going to be great. Wemby is already showing signs of being a phenomenal offensive player and almost as good, if not better, defensive player. A lot of people are giving him the Kevin Durant comparison. And honestly, I think that's just because they look similar. Tall, lanky, forwards, I believe. I think Wemby plays more center, but he could probably play forward. But, he's not the offensive player Kevin Durant is, but Kevin Durant is nowhere near the defensive player Wemby is. So I don't know if that comparison is really, really all that. Now, as far as tonight, I was going to give a little preview for some games tonight, but there is no games tonight. So I'm either going to watch hockey. So Preds play the Flames. I believe the Penguins play the Ducks. The Red Wings play the Rangers. There's a couple of games that I might tune into, or I might just take it easy tonight. I haven't decided yet, but that's the show. Jackie's got a sports show. You just tuned into that sports show. Follow me on Twitter at JJester615. Follow the show's Twitter at Jackie's Show. I really got to get better at tweeting out when the show comes out because I think a lot of the traffic I get is from Twitter. Follow me on TikTok at Jackie Boy Sports for daily TikTok sports takes. I try to post at least 5, 6 times on a busy day and maybe like 3, 4 times on a non-busy day. And yeah, email me questions, comments, concerns, anything about the show. oldjackieboy1021 at gmail.com. That is OLE JackieBoy1021 at gmail.com. Like I said, like, rate, and share the show. It really, really helps trying to conquer the world with this thing. Getting better. Slowly getting better. Jackie's got a sports show. You just tuned into that sports show. I thank you so, so much. All the kisses.